It's a beautiful day down the plot this morning. Sun's just coming up and the birds are singing. Hopefully you can hear that. It's a chorus of birds singing. So we're going to go down to the plot this morning and have a quick check round things, see how the tomatoes are doing, and do a couple of little jobs. So we'll start off with a little bit of a progress update on how things are looking in the greenhouse. Here we have the remaining onions, which we'll find somewhere to put in today. These are the tomatoes. They're still looking okay, still looking small, but they're okay. And the pepper plants. Brassicas are looking good, and we'll try and get some of those in the next week or so. Multi-sown beetroot, again, we'll give them another week or so and then we'll get them in the ground. And everything else is looking good. All the single seed potatoes are looking great. Some more spinach and mustards there. These are some transplanted lettuces which are looking a little bit weak and poorly for themselves. We'll see how they do, but we'll be sowing some more of those up in a slightly different way than we did last time. More brassicas, and then down here we have the spare dahlias that we didn't fit in our back garden. I've just put them into pots for the time being. And then we got a few Brussels sprouts and some cosmos down here. The polytunnel, we're looking quite good. All the tomatoes are surviving just about in here. Ironically, this one down here is perked up a bit, the one in the middle. That's the Oh Happy Days. It wasn't having a very happy day at all the other day. And down here, the only one that looks a bit weak and poorly is this limoncello one. So we'll give him a day or so, see how he does. We've got some spares if that doesn't happen. And finally, we've got the French beans coming up. And then we've still got the peas along here, which need to go out now, outside. And we've reconfigured the bench down the end here, taking the top part off of it, because we're going to have that as our peppers station. But we've still got plenty of lettuce going, and the pak choy is still doing all okay in here. So that's all looking great so far, and we shall get on with some seed sowing and some getting on with these peppers and getting those other onions in hopefully today. Now, one of the issues that we have at the moment is that we only had about 25% of the rain that we would expect in March, and the beginning of April has been ridiculously bonkers weather. It's been up at like 22 degrees during the day and down at freezing at night. Next week we're going to be expecting some more traditional weather, so it'll be about 14 degrees during the day and about 3 or 4 degrees at night. But one of the issues that we've got at the moment is that we've had so little rain. Normally this soil is lovely, but if I dig down into this a little bit, you can see that even going down a few inches, there is you put your fingers down in there, come out mostly dry. We really could do with some rain just to get down into the soil, because even the subsoils are now starting to dry out. It's not just the surface. Normally you'd dig down and you'd find even on hot days that the first inch or so is dry, but further down here it's quite damp and wet. But putting my hand down in there, you can see it's all still dry and crumbly. So next week we're expecting some rain. How much rain we get, I don't know. Hopefully what we could do with is a day or two of it, just a constant drizzle, let's put you, Mr. Worm, back in the ground. Otherwise the morning birds will come and get you. So hopefully we'll get a couple of days of complete wet weather when it's nice and drizzly. And that will get the soils nice and soaked down. Because at the moment there's a couple of beds that need weeding. The strawberry bed needs weeding, and the second half of the garlic bed needs weeding. But I'm really reluctant to do that at the moment because the soil is so dry. Some of the deeper taproot weeds, you'll just end up snapping, even trying to dig down through them, you just end up snapping them off rather than actually getting the root and everything else out. So really could do with some rain on it just to loosen the soil up a little bit before we start pulling those weeds out. Otherwise we'll just end up leaving the roots in, and then they'll just re-sprout. So weeding is on hold for the time being. To be fair, there's an odd weed and stuff around and about, small weeds, but it's been so dry that even the weeds have struggled to actually get themselves going. But hopefully that will change all next week. And down here on this bed, we're not going to have any veggies in this bed at all this year. Well, I say unfortunately, it's a conscious decision not to put any veggies. I put some grass clippings on this yesterday. You can see there's a little bit of a cold frost on top of them, but I decided this year not to have any veggies whatsoever in this bed. One of the things that we've always sort of had aimed to do anyway is to have like a dedicated flower bed. And I decided to pick this one as our dedicated flower bed. So we got some spare dahlias. We had about six or seven spare dahlias that didn't fit into the garden. We dug them all up last year and stored them and unwrapped them and got them in the ground recently. And as I say, in the greenhouse earlier, you saw that there was about 6 or 7 spare ones that just didn't fit. They'd sort of grown in the garden and they got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they just needed more space now. So we've got some cosmos, and we've got some straw flowers, and we've got some calendula and some other bits and pieces. So we decided to actually use this bed as our dedicated flower bed. So once the soil is eased up a bit, again, this is rock. It's really, you can just about get a fork into it, but you can see that even on these beds there's a little bit of moisture in there, but they're all, it's nice and still nice and crumbly because it's got a lot of good organic matter in it, but it is crumbly dry. So we'll wait until we get a bit of rain on there, and then we'll start getting some of the and we can ensure that there's not going to be any late frost, because it does get about 2 or 3 degrees colder here than it does just around the corner at home. It's because it's like a little bit of a basin here and it catches the cold. So we're going to use this bed for our flowers, and hopefully we'll have a nice display of flowers and encourage some of the insects in. Although having said that, most of the beds around here are actually going to be covered because they're going to be brassica beds. But encourage some of the beneficial insects in, and it's always great to look after nature. So that is our plan for this bed. So no veggies in this bed this year. And I think we've got enough beds anyway. We should have enough beds. I had to have a bit of a rejig of the planning guide. This bed originally was going to have some, according to the planning guide that I had, was going to have some leeks and some turnips and other bits and pieces. So we just had to rejig our plan around a little bit, just so that we can actually free this bed up and make this free for doing our flower bed. So that is the plan for that, and join me in a future video when I'll be planting that one up. The other thing we've done is we've moved this around. We've got this is our in amongst here, down in here. This is we'll just put a fleece around it just to protect it from it's as much to protect it from the birds as it is to actually protect it from the frost. That's our sweet peas in there. I'm going to move these buckets down to by the small polytunnel at some point, because we've got a couple of those little, we've ordered a couple of those little 1 metre metal raised beds. So they were, everybody keeps going on about Timo and stuff like that and saying, oh, it's great bargain, it's great bargain. So we decided to get a couple of the little metal beds. They're only about £20 each, so it's not a big deal if they're not great ones, but we're going to put those ones in there. And we might keep those as salad crops, spring onions, lettuces and stuff like that. But they're obviously shipping all the way from China probably. I don't know where they're coming from. So they're probably not going to be here for like a month or so. In the meantime, we can actually sort of keep our lettuce in the polytunnel. But we're sure that's another project that is ongoing, waiting for the equipment to arrive. This is the bed down here that we're talking about, and the fact that it needs a good weeding, but there's the soil is so dry at the moment that things like that, dandelion that's in there, and bits and stuff will actually just let's just end up taking the tap root off of it when you try and pull it out. And again, this bed down here is the strawberry bed, and hopefully you can see here, look, this is our strawberry bed, and I did give this some water yesterday, but you can see here how dry it's got. It's just, even with all the moisture, all the goodness in this soil, you can see the cracks are starting to develop in the soil, where it's just been so dry. So pray to the God rains. Please, rain gods, give us some rain. We need it. Although everybody else might not be happy with the rain. Everybody down the allotments just been saying how dry it is. So hopefully, fingers crossed, rain next week. So I'm going to be planting up some more lettuce heads, because the ones we transplanted don't look particularly strong. So what I'm going to use this time, I'm going to use a slightly different method. Last time we put them in slightly bigger cells and then separated them out. So this time we're going to be using these 5 by 10 trays with these little tiny cells. And the aim of the game here is to actually put in 2 seeds per cell, and then if they both germinate, fine. We can then we'll then thin it out to just the strongest one, and that way we won't have any transplanting issues. So lettuce seeds are really tiny. Trying to dry my hands a little bit because they are, otherwise they stick to your fingers. So we are going to try and get a couple of seeds in each cell. I'm going to sow up 10 cells of each variety. That way, if we do get some poor germination on a couple of cells, we've still got plenty of plants left over. Now I'm trying to get 2 per cell here, but I can see already that I'm probably getting, on all occasion, getting 3. So that one is the Tom Thumb. So we'll put that label in the back and put those seeds back in the packet. Put those over there. I'll seal those back up later. And this is a little gem. So as I say, what I'm trying to do is aim to actually sort of means that they don't need to be transplanted, because they didn't take too well to being transplanted. They might pick up the ones that we've got in the greenhouse. But always best to have a backup plan. And either way, these ones will be great for succession sowing if the other ones are okay as well. So I'm going to get these in and all labelled up. Right, now I've got all those seeds in there, I'm just going to lightly dust this over. I did pre-wet this compost before we did anything with it, so I'm just going to lightly sprinkle some compost over the top. And just firm that one down. Push it down a little bit, just make sure we've got good contact and we're all protected in there. And that's the lettuce done. Now the other thing that I want to do today, I was going to start off today, is some courgettes and some pumpkin squash type sort of things. So that's our courgettes. And we've got a few different sorts of squash here. There's a couple of squash. We've got a crookneck and a yellow bush one. And then also last year we went to a pumpkin farm locally. So I've got these labelled up with proper and scientific names, which is like pumpkin small yellow orange. Pumpkin small white, I can't even read that. Oh, small white, green and orange. And star-shaped pumpkin. So, you know, technical names, they just happen to be pumpkins that we got when we were there, which we quite like the look of. And then I thought we saved the seeds from the pumpkins and we're going to plant those ones up. So we get all those planted up. The other thing that we got here is some Brunswick cabbage, because we only ended up having one of those germinate from the last lot. So we're going to get those ones planted up in some pots as well. Now for that, I'm just going to use these little, what are they, like little 8cm pots. I'm just going to put about 4 seeds in each, and then we'll see which ones come up, and then we'll thin them out after that. So I'm going to crack on with that. So just get the seeds, push them down in, put one in each corner. Now some of these other seeds that we've got here are actually quite old. So I don't know what sort of germination we'll get off them, but we shall wait and see. So that is the yellow bush scallop. Now some of these older ones, I'm not necessarily expecting them to actually work or to germinate. But as we've still got some seeds, I think the sow-by date on those was last year, but you never know, do you? You never know. Seeds are funny in the fact that they have like sort of sow-by dates on them. But in actual fact, some seeds can last really, really well. It depends on the different varieties of seeds. Some seeds last really, really well, and others literally flake as soon as you get close to the actual sow-by date. They're no good and they're out. Whereas other seeds that you actually use, they sort of can carry on going well past their sow-by date. So it's always worth, well, I mean, one technique that you can use to actually test seeds is either just put them in some pots and see if they grow really. But the other way you can do this is if you take a few of the seeds and you wet some paper towels and you sprinkle a few of the seeds on a paper towel, fold that over so they're inside the wetted paper towel, put them in a plastic bag, and then just leave them for a few days. And then you'll see whether or not they actually germinate. You can actually then see if they're viable seeds. Alternatively, rather than messing around with all that, you can just put them in a pot and see if they grow. So that is the crookneck. One there. Right, courgettes. So some of these squash it's one of those things where it's sort of it's a nice to have plant. We don't necessarily use a lot of squash, and depend on which ones grow. And again, with the pumpkins, we tend to use them. We tend to have them with decorations at Halloween more than use them in recipes and stuff like that. We do use occasional things with pumpkins and squashes, but generally speaking, we don't necessarily use them as a veg that we'd eat regularly. So these crops are all not reliant on us actually growing them. So as I say, whereas the courgette here, we do want some courgettes, which is why I'm sowing up a couple of pots of these, because I do want some courgettes this year. Whereas if the squash come, or the squash don't come, or the pumpkins come, or the pumpkins don't come, it's not a major loss really. So that's where we'll sow a few varieties, see which ones grow, which ones don't. And if they grow, we'll have some nice decorations when it comes around to Halloween. And we might be able to use some of the squashes in a recipe. If they don't grow, it is no major loss. So, right, let's crack on and get the rest of these done. Okay, so that's all our squash and our pumpkins all planted up, our lettuce. So just for me to actually get those into the greenhouse, tidy up in here, tape some of these seed packets back up, and that'll be it for today. As I say, we've got the peas to go in this week, and need to put those onions in as well. But that's what we're planting and what our plans are for the next few weeks. So until next time, see you again soon.